Welcome to the Rise Above Show, presented by Roofr. My name is Diego Dante, and I'm thrilled to bring you inspiring conversations with some of the most innovative and bright minds in our industry. From business and entrepreneurship to personal development and growth, we'll explore the strategies, insights, and stories that have helped our guests rise above challenges, overcome adversity, and achieve their goals. So sit back, relax, and join us on this journey of empowerment, inspiration, and discovery. This is the Rise Above Show. Cool. So what is going on, everyone? My name is Diego Dante. I am with Roofr, and I've got my friends over here with Roofr. Big fan, super excited I get to do this with you guys. Every time you guys do a training, I'm in the comments, I'm complimenting mustaches and I'm complimenting Roofr. And so I'm glad that I'm finally now the one that is that can lead the training. So good to have you guys. If you guys wouldn't mind just going around, just introducing yourselves, just tell us real quick, what do you guys do at Roofr? And I guess first of all, let me start with this. So let me pick on Pete for a second. So Pete, tell us a little bit about what Roofr does before we get started into who you guys are.
Yeah, absolutely. Roofr is an all-in-one sales platform. We've put together a bunch of tools to help facilitate your sales process. The idea is to capture as much of that sales process as we can for you inside the platform to help organize, make your sales process more efficient. We do aerial measurements, we do proposals. We've introduced our instant estimator, which allows you to offer quotes to your customers in 30 seconds or less on your website, in your marketing, in your ads, wherever you want to throw that. And I'm sure we can talk a little bit more about that today. That's a big part of the marketing piece. But yeah, just the goal is here to really encompass your sales process and be able to really organize and streamline that for you.
Sweet. So let's go around now. Since you started, tell us what you do, and then I'll let your teammates here introduce themselves as well.
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know me, my name is Pete McKendrick. I am the manager of product and strategy here at Roofr. So I just do, kind of help the product team with the roadmap and figuring out exactly, what features to add next, and work with customers to see how they feel about the product and where it's going, and just trying to make the product the best we can for the customer base.
Awesome. Nick, go ahead, man.
What's up, everyone? I'm Nick Capobianco. I am the team lead on the sales side over here. Been a roofer my entire life, and now been around Roofr.com my entire the entire existence here for 6 years. So I basically chat with roofers all day. It's my favorite thing to do. Chat with them, see what they're using, see how we can kind of optimize and manage a team throughout there.
Yeah, awesome. Nick, I feel like we've become good friends in the sense of I've called you at least once to figure out how to do a DIY measurement. So I've always appreciated that about you guys. So all right, and last but not least, we have Astana here. So go ahead, man, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Diego. I'm lucky enough to be working with these handsome faces you can see in front of you, Nick and Pete, but I'm on the marketing side, so a bit more behind the curtains, but responsible for bringing great content like this one and the conversation we're about to have to all of our audience. And roofers who are really looking to grow their business with sales, marketing, and even more. So a lot of education and a lot of content to help with all that. Excited to be here.
Yeah, that's awesome. So this is great. So we're, one of the big things that we wanted to chat about today was marketing your roofing company. And of course, this is a big hot topic, because obviously, roofers are on social media. We all talk to each other. We all get the million messages a day asking how many more leads we can take on. And, and I think there's a lot of misinformation on, what is effective, what are effective ways of marketing your company. And so I love that we get to chat about that today with you guys. And I love that you guys are coming in more from a technology, standpoint. And, we get to talk about that a little bit. So let's start off and talk about that. Let's say first, we're going to divide this up into different sections. So let's say first we're going to target the small contractor, right? So the contractor that's, let's say between $0 to $2 million, just getting started, maybe been in the industry for a couple years. And I know obviously you're starting to build some of your assets, your website, all these things. What are the things that we need to be looking out for, and the things that maybe we're doing wrong when it comes to marketing when we're at that stage of contracting?
It's a great question. I'll start off on my end, and I'll let everybody kind of go around. I think a big thing that a lot of people jump into too quickly is trying to get too big too fast. From my standpoint, I've been a roofer. My dad's a roofer. I've seen how this kind of goes, and a lot of people just get too excited, want to jump in, and it's no fault of their own. They want to become successful and want to be able to scale quick. But if you put the horse before the carriage, you could start getting like the wrong marketing agency, spending a lot of money, building out or getting a CRM too early, and getting out the wrong message to the customer. Because as important as getting out there and getting in front of people is, it takes one bad review, just one, to ruin that entire flow. So if you do not have your processes in place before you go into a crazy marketing budget, that can really kind of spoil it for the history of your company.
Mm-hmm. I think what Nick's touching on there is a key message that we talk about a lot, and that is no technology or tool can force a process onto your team. So if you don't have a great way of generating leads and managing customers, no new CRM or flashy marketing agency on the block can help do that for you. So before you go and spend all this money, like Nick said, make sure you understand where your customers are coming from, why they're picking you, and why they stick with you to do business. Because once you understand that, then you can plug and play almost any type of channel, tool, or agency and see great success. But it's very important what Nick said there, to not put the carriage before the horse, but to instead be intentional about those tracks you're trailing.
Yeah, and I think one of the things to touch on here too is that there's so many ways now to market, right? Social media has opened up so many different ways. And because of that, there's so many cost-effective ways to get the word out there, right? I can do it very cheaply now. It could be as cheap as ordering, $50 worth of door hangers and walking around and sticking them on doors. It could be just getting out there and introducing yourself to the neighborhood. I think there's just so many cost-effective ways to do it that we don't necessarily, if I'm a smaller guy, if I was talking to a guy who's making less than $1 million, right? And he's coming probably saying, I have very limited budget when it comes to marketing at this point. I get it. And, I've been there. I ran a small business, and I know you don't have that money to spend on marketing. So it's like, okay, we got to be a little bit creative here. And, we've got to come up with some ways that we can generate some business without spending a whole lot of money. And I think that there are those ways out there. You do have to be a little bit creative about how you do them, but you can be very cost effective in the way you do it early on.
I think when you're starting out, to the point of trying to grow too fast, one of the things that we do is we try to do too many things also. Mm-hmm. And I believe, this is just my opinion, but I believe that it is a better strategy to focus on getting really good at one thing initially. So how did cavemen get their food? There was 3 different ways. There was they planted seeds, they used nets, and they used spears. Okay. So the seeds is going to be your referrals, right? So you're going to plant seeds with everyone that you talk to so that you will get some sort of result from that in the future. That's something that you can start doing at any point. The nets, there's people out in the community right now that's looking for your services. So the net is throwing out that net and capturing the people that are looking for the people that do what you do. And then the spears is you're going out there and you're finding the prey and you're getting it. It's going to be your door-to-door, cold calling, stuff like that, right? So I think that it's a great strategy when you're starting out to pick one of those things and get really good at it. A lot of companies start out and they say, all right, I'm going to do the referral thing, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do the door knocking, and we're going to get really good at digital marketing. Like, focus on one thing. If you can get really good initially in the beginning at door to door, and just get really freaking good at that. Once you have a solid system for that in your company, you've got canvassers, you've got a system for it, you got everything, then you start working on really getting deep into the digital marketing aspect. And I think that that's a really good strategy for when you're starting out.
Mm-hmm.
I love that analogy, Diego. I think we're going to steal
I
that
know,
for
we're
one of
still
our next
stealing
talks.
that.
I stole
And
that from
it's
the internet, so I didn't come up with it.
I love it.
It's so interesting you have that approach too, because Pete and I on a recent podcast, we talked about another analogy of like Jenga, where you have to build up the stack slowly, but then it gets to a point where people might feel overconfident in one piece of the tower up top, and they start taking out pieces of on the bottom. So in your example, it would be maybe they take out referrals, or they take out nets, and they'll focus only on spears. And when that happens, things crash. So that's a really interesting analogy, and one that is similar to what we've talked about in the past. But around the question of like, what do people pick first or to start doing for marketing when they're just starting out or trying to get their hands on like what's out there, my advice is always to find the intersection of what comes naturally to you, what you can afford, and where people are looking for you. So that net piece. So for example, if you're a great writer, but you're not the best on video, maybe creating Facebook posts or LinkedIn posts is the best thing for you to do. But if your community, if your neighborhood, if they're not on Facebook, if they don't have an HOA group or a group that's looking for services that you're selling, then you're in the wrong place too. So it's all about finding that intersection of those three pieces, similar to what you said, to understand where can I be spending my time and money in the most effective way at the beginning, because we can't do it all, and roofers shouldn't be doing it all at the beginning, because that's just distracted effort rather than intentional effort and focused effort.
Yeah. We had someone on the chat say, someone by the name of Leo, saying he signed 37 contracts door knocking on a door knocking campaign on one street. So just like that, focused effort. I mean, his is so focused that even he's focusing just on one street, right? So same deal with that. Focus on one thing, get really good at it. Then you start expanding from there. You're going to have a lot more success if you do it that way. We share a building here with Cornerstone Construction. There's a gentleman here by the name of Trey. He did 1.3 million here in South Carolina, all from Facebook. And it 1.3 million in South Carolina is a really good year, right? Like I believe their average ticket price here is between 11 and 15,000 per ticket price. So do the math on that one. Like he did a crap ton of roofs, and all from Facebook, no door knocking, right? So what works for one person isn't going to work for another person. To your point, what are you good at? How do you expand on that? So you hit up a point there also on content creation. What are some ways that contractors can start creating content if that's something that they're not necessarily great at?
Oh man, tons of ideas here, and Pete can pull a lot from our podcast too. But one idea I'll start with before I hand it over to Pete and Nick is the most important thing with service-based businesses, which roofing is that people know you can do the job. So it's not about telling them that you can do the thing, but what people care more about is what is it like to work with you? They all know that you're competent enough to fix the hole in the roof or do the work that they need to do, but what they're unsure about is, are you reliable? Will you respond to my messages? Is it a fun time working with you, or do I have to manage you? And if you can create content around what the process of working with you is like, so something along the lines of, here's how we quote a roof, or here's how we build a proposal for you, then what you're doing there is building trust with an audience that will keep you top of mind when it comes time for them to buy a service like yours. So in short, show people what it's like to work with you through your content. Pete, I know you've got a bunch of ideas on this too.
No, I mean, I totally agree with you. I think that the part that's most important when you're creating content and whatever it is, like if it's video, turning the camera on yourself, it's just being genuine so that people really understand who you are. I remember someone saying the most important part of your website is the About Us section, right? Because it's what people want to know. They want to feel like when you come to do their roof that they already know who you are. They already feel comfortable with you. You already feel like a friend, right? Like it's not, it's a stressful process anytime you're working with a contractor. I've experienced both ends of that. And it's like, I think anything you can do to bring a comfort level there to the customer, that you're working with, and make them feel like, hey, I know this guy, I trust this guy, I feel comfortable with him here doing the job. I think that just goes a long way. And I think it's a huge part of, if you're going to create content, which everybody should, really be genuine about it. Really, don't be afraid to turn the camera on yourself and let people see who you are and what your company is. We have a good friend, John Broche. Everybody knows him, right? At Meredith Home Improvements. I love one of the things he does is he has an intro video for all his sales guys. And when someone schedules an appointment, they send out an intro video that says like, hey, my name's Corey. I'm going to be your sales rep. I'll be there tomorrow. This is a little bit about me. So you already know who Corey is before he even gets there to do, to do his inspection, and you feel comfortable with him. You feel like you literally are a friend of this guy already. So it goes a long way. And, I think it really brings a level of comfort to the to the customer with the contractor that, really works in your favor and potentially helps to close the sale because there's that level of confidence in you.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the cool thing is too, a lot of us, want to build out, you know, fancy studios and all this stuff, but like we have a really powerful camera right here. We could just be, creating so much content just from this, right? So you guys
Oh,
have, my friend TJ on your team, and he's, how much content that man's created just from his cell phone, right? And I see so many people just constantly every single job that they build, in front of the roof, right? There's a guy on my friend list. I've never met the guy in person, but his name's Christopher Michael, and every single day he's got a new build that he's doing, and he's live on Facebook, and he just goes through point by point by point. This person that came out for an inspection, they had hail damage on the roof. We talked to the insurance company, they approved it. We're going through with a new architectural shingle. We're changing out all the flashing. We're doing this, and that, and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, he just created so much trust. And if someone's going through his Facebook account, he's seeing that he's doing a ton of work, but also that he's, he's building so much trust by just going live on Facebook.
It's huge.
And I think that's
like,
Go
ahead. Sorry. Oh, so I was saying like that's a huge thing, and like that's finding your voice. And to what Astana and Pete were saying is finding that voice that is yours. And if your voice is getting in front of people and doing like a live and showing them the builds, that's going to help out with the referrals. That's going to help out with a lot of things. What TJ mentions a lot of the times too is like becoming that community roofer. Joseph Hughes says the 5 Mile Famous. Like there's a way of doing this, and it's finding out what the community wants to see and what people want to see. A great start is those buildings those builds that you're doing in the background. That's great. Show the people your work, but show people that you're in their neighborhood too. Like really kind of hyper focus it. You could do it in front of like a neighborhood sign or whatever the case is, and start to introduce yourself and what you do, and become that like. And this is something that Pete and Astana kind of coined, that neighborhood roofer. The gentleman in the chat said he signed 37 contracts on one street. Be that neighborhood roofer, because it's about creating that referral, that recurring kind of information that the customers can see, so that they always come back to you. So that if somebody is going to ask, and let's face it, everyone's going to ask their neighbor or their friends, I got to do my roof. Do you have anybody who you could recommend? Have them recommend you, number one, but having that voice and that community access where they can take a look and see your Facebook or your stories or anything like that, to show them like, hey, I've been in this neighborhood for a while now, and I've been doing a great job. Like, here's the address, and here's how I help out customers. That's a huge part of getting out there to people.
I'm going to tell you guys, I'm going to tell you a secret, and we're going to keep it between us. So we did, when I was running a roofing company, I thought to myself, what are ways that I can start networking with some of the local business owners in my area? And so I started a podcast, and we were literally filming it on my cell phone on a tripod. And I had a couple microphones, just a little setup for a couple microphones with it. And we just sat with a one camera setup talking. And what the point of why I did this was, I made a list of who are the people in my area that if they would recommend me to everyone, I would get instant what's the word, trust from people, because these are local business owners of local companies. So I wrote all those people down, and I invited them to be on a podcast with me. And the reason why I did that is because it is way easier to get someone to go on a podcast with you than it is to just cold call someone and say, hey, I want to take you to lunch. Especially when the purpose of my content or the purpose of the podcast was, hey, this is where we showcase local brands that are doing really cool things in the community. So when I pitch it that way to a local entrepreneur, I'm going to go and I'm going to have a 30-minute conversation with someone that's super authentic and genuine. And it is, because I do want to have conversations with these people. I want to get to know them, but it's so much of a better way of getting in front of them if you say, hey, I want to create content with you versus, hey, I want to get something from you.
I love that. I call that finding your amplifiers. There's people like this in every single neighborhood that's an amplifier for you. And if you can work with them, or if you can collaborate with them in some way, then they become a high lever, a customer for you, where now you have all this leverage and trust that you've won by association with this person, where everyone else who trusts that person already now you get their second degree trust as well. So that's a lot smarter way of trying to build a base of customers than just trying to do it all on your own brand. And it's way easier when you're cooperative with the folks in your community than trying to do it solo. So huge tactic and idea there.
And way cheaper too. Like this is grassroots campaigning, and this is what you should be doing before you spend any money with a marketing team or marketing agency. Build up that name internally, and you went to the person. And the other ways of doing it is like, volunteering, Chamber of Commerce, or Pete. What Ty Backer? He does the turkey roast. Is it?
Yeah, he does the turkey salute. Yeah.
The turkey salute every year, and he has this huge thing, and he just is the community roofer. Ty Backer is a massive company, TC Backer, and it's a huge company, but they still do the grassroots thing because that's what they got them to the dance. And that makes a huge difference whether you're doing it online on a podcast form, you're in Chamber of Commerce, you're in the meetings. Start locally and then expand out.
RoofCon's amazing. Getting to see all the speakers like Nick and Eric and especially Tim Tebow. Very exciting and eye-opening.
Amazing speakers and great knowledge. Keep it up.
First RoofCon, been following Hunter and the Revolt Clan for quite some time, and it's definitely been a lot more than what we expected.
This event is getting better and better.
So if you're going to go to one roofing conference, make sure that it's RoofCon.
RoofCon 2023 returns to Orlando, Florida, November 9th through the 11th. Get your tickets at roofcon.com.
So speaking of Ty's a good friend of mine. I talked to him one day, and they also do another cool thing that they do is they'll go to these home shows and they'll set up what they call the contractor coffee shop. And so people can come in, these attendees can come in and just grab a cup of coffee, and all they got to do is schedule a time to do an inspection. And so they get a ton of inspections from doing stuff like that. So again, another free strategy, another thing that you can do if you don't have the money when you're starting out to be able to build trust in the community and be able to get out in front of more people. So let's move forward a little bit. Let's say that we've built a small company. Let's say now we're doing, we got a few employees, we got an office, we got a website, we got all these things. How do we scale our marketing now when we've gotten to that, a little, I'm going to save that $5 to $10 million range. Obviously that's different. That range is different in South Carolina versus Florida or whatever. But when we're in that range of small company versus just single contractor, what are the things that we can do to scale our marketing?
Nick, I think it's time you tell them about the IE.
Yeah, it's a utilized tech, really. Astana used this line, and we use it in our presentations, our breakout sessions at events and stuff. But he uses a line: a tool can't fix a broken process. So starting off with making sure that you have a process kind of set up, that it's scalable, it's repeatable, and that you're able to get on things. That's number one. But number two, seeing that you probably have done that because you're up to a $5 million company, it's starting to utilize tech and different ways to kind of reach people. So the instant estimator is a great version of that. People are looking for stuff now. So the best way to kind of think about it is, Diego, if you wanted to get a truck, you went on Ford's website, you wanted to get F-150, you can click on that and get a price for a truck. And then you could add in things like Bluetooth, rims, etc., and find a price. But you still got to talk to a salesperson. So that's a big thing that everyone's doing that. You could do that on Zillow, you could do that on Amazon. what's the difference with roofing? Why have we been so delayed? So 6 years ago, we created the instant estimator, and we're on our third iteration of it because we went through all the trials and tribulations. And now we're giving that stuff back where you can put on your website, put in your ads, and drive traffic to it. And the reason why you want something like this is, do you know what the most Googled thing is by a homeowner looking for a new roof is, Diego?
What is it?
How much does my roof cost? It's like, it's so obvious, and people are looking for that information now because people don't do roofs every year. Even if you're out in Texas, it's like a 3 to 8 year kind of window on big storms, unless it's like you're getting crazy storms, and we're seeing less and less storms as we go along. So why not give that information and capture their leads? And Pete can go into it with like the Facebook and what you see all the time, the groups in there. I said the Facebook like I'm 85 years old.
That's a throwback.
The Facebook, but like on Facebook, you see
On
every
the
day
interwebs.
on the interwebs, on Al Gore's computer machine. So, but 3 times today I saw it on 3 different groups. How are you guys getting leads? It's just like you start to implement tools and automation into there that makes a huge difference. And Pete's been dealing with this for years. You've been seeing this in from your old job into this job and everything.
Sure. Yeah, and I think a huge piece to touch on is what Asawa alluded to earlier with the whole Jenga effect is, even when your company gets to $5 million, and to bring Ty back into it, I think those guys have done a brilliant job of this. Is don't forget what got you there, right? Like don't lose track of the fact that if door knocking was your thing and you became an expert at that, and that's generating a ton of leads, like don't just drop it because now you're at $5 million and you have the ability to do something else. Financially, you're in a position to have, a marketing firm and concentrate on your SEO and your Google ads and all that kind of stuff. Don't lose track of what got you there, because like Astawa said, it's like you're pulling those Jenga blocks out and you will put yourself in a tough position, So I think, build on what you have. Keep what you've got and just build on it. Start to add more things and diversify the way you market, but don't necessarily replace things. And I think that's a mistake that we often make in the roofing industry, is that we replace one thing with another, right? We say like, oh, well, I was spending money on this. Let's pull the plug on that and put in, Facebook ads, or let's hire a marketing firm and work on our SEO. Instead of just saying, let's do that on top of what we're already doing that made us successful. And, I think that's the biggest mistake that I see, as I think it's like that new shiny penny kind of approach of like, oh yeah, check this out. This looks cool. Let's try that in place of what we're already doing. Right. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh wait, this doesn't work. Oh shit. Now we got to backtrack and try to get back to what we were doing. So
it's a really interesting position to be in, Diego, when you go from being a smaller team of either yourself or just a couple of guys to now a larger team. Because when you're on your own or running solo, it's more or less you and your hands, or people very well that are out there doing everything. But as you scale up into a dozen people or more, those tendencies can carry over into bad habits where you want to be the final approver, the one who does every single thing. And then what happens is that you become the bottleneck. So as you scale your marketing into a larger company, what you have to actively do is remove yourself from the process and remove people from areas that could be self-serve. Nick talked about the instant estimator piece and getting quotes. That's a self-serve piece, because you shouldn't have reps that are on the phone and quoting people every single day. You should have your website doing that for you. You should have instant estimator doing that for you. So it's all about removing yourself and other people as much as you can from those processes. So when a prospect is fully qualified and also ready to buy, then you come in and have that conversation. So it's all about streamlining and removing those bottlenecks as you scale your marketing.
One thing that I'm pretty adamant about is, and I see a lot of websites for contractors. This is probably one of my things that I shouldn't be doing, but I will go through basically every contractor that I can think. I will go through their websites and just analyze what they're doing well and what they're not doing well. And something that I see I am. Something that I see like every single day is people just have forms on their website that's just leave your name and your phone number and maybe your address, and we'll give you a call as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is that person, by the time you call them back, they've already found someone to give them an estimate. What you guys are trying to do is, all right, customer ultimately just wants an estimate. Let's get that to them. Obviously, they're still going to have to talk to the contractor and all that. But if you can shorten that time of how long it's going to take them to get an estimate, they're not going to be shopping around for other people. And that's a huge piece of it too. Whether that's however you can help to shorten that timeline so that they're not going on after they go to your website and looking for other roofers, right? So if it's using an instant estimator tool or having direct way to schedule an appointment through the website or whatever that looks like, as long as you can shorten that time frame to where they're getting what they want in a short period of time, you're winning if you're doing that, right?
100%.
Yeah, you're getting speed to lead is the name of the game. Like we live in an Amazon world now. Like while we're on this thing, my doorbell rang and I was like, thank God that package took 2.5 days. That's way too long for Amazon. So I was annoyed, but it's here and I got to fly tomorrow. So like, I was just like, I want that there. So people want that too. And there's like a really good stats out there that speed to lead works. You are 7 times more likely to win a contract if you contact them within the first hour. 7 times. That's a ridiculous stat. And giving an instant estimate on your website is great because you're going to give them that transparency and education. You're also going to pull in their qualification data, and then you could reach out and get in front of them with a really informative proposal. That kind of stuff really changes everything that you go. And when Astana said you need to streamline things, it's about automation and streamlining, being sure that you're in front of them, because you're right, static form leads can work, but they don't work well. Because number one, there's no clear next step. Number two, people are dubious of putting their information on a form that they don't know what it's going to be. You don't know what's going to happen next. So you want to really optimize so that you know that everybody who's looking at your ad, that you have a high conversion rate on everybody and you are capturing their information. You're not getting a lead, you're capturing the lead. It's very, very different, right, Pete?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I want to touch on is, Diego dropped a nugget in there that I think, kind of slid right in there. But, as doing a lot of research now on the product side, and Diego and I had a conversation about this as well as a number of other contractors, but giving that customer the ability to schedule the appointment, that kind of call to action on your website versus that form fill out is such a huge difference. And you can speak to this, Diego, but I know a couple of other contractors have told me that if you can get that customer to schedule that appointment, it's almost a slam dunk. Corey Combs put it the best. He told me, if I get a customer that goes on my website and schedule an appointment, that's my job to lose. Right? He said, that's a slam dunk. He said, if I lose that job, it's on me. He goes, because that person was ready to buy.
I think so much, like, I'm going to use the example of Facebook. I'm really big on Facebook groups, and a lot of times people will go on and they'll say, hey, who's a roofer, who's a roofing contractor that you recommend? And people start tagging names and all that stuff. Think about that work that goes into, all right, I got to find who this person works for. Maybe they'll reach out to me, whatever. That system doesn't work. So if you have, like, I love going on those when people recommend me and saying, hey, you can schedule an appointment directly through our website and just drop it right there. Just super simple. And, and especially if you've got hey, you can schedule an appointment through the website, or, hey, you can get a quote directly on my website.
That right there, what you and Pete are talking about, Diego, is a very important marketing principle. All of these pieces, your website, your content, your estimating tool, your quoting tool, should always be pushing that prospect further down that funnel. If they're on your website to get a quote, they've expressed an interest in possibly hiring you. Once they've gotten to the end of the estimating tool, they've explicitly said, hey, my intent is to possibly hire someone. Could I schedule a call with you? That's your opportunity. Like Pete said with one of his friends, that's my job to lose now. You need to be at that point, there is a decision to be made, and you have to bring that person further down the funnel. So if people think about their funnel if they stop thinking about their funnel as fragmented pieces and start thinking about them as one connected journey, then I think roofers can see a lot more success at taking people from just a lead to a happy and satisfied homeowner that actually becomes their family later on too, and tells all their neighbors about them too. So it's important that roofers start thinking about their marketing that way too.
Yeah. All right, let's take a quick break, and we're going to look at what's going on in the chat because I've got quite a few comments in here. So I got my man David Summerly in the chat. Sorry I missed your birthday, David, but happy belated birthday. He said, "Oh, we're not going to talk bad about Angie Leads on this." All right. So, all right, Leo, who closed 37 leads on the road, said, "It took several years to develop the strategy. We generally start with a barbecue on the job site, and we invite the neighbors and media. We also invite local businesses to donate coupons and sample products like cosmetics for the free gift bag. We invite real estate agents to help us or volunteer to hand out these gift bags and encourage a free quote." Big, like, that's awesome. Again,
awesome.
super. We've done that before with big, when we get hit with a hailstorm, we'll go into some of these big neighborhoods and set up some sort of community day with, we keep some like big bouncy slides and stuff like that. So we can just take those wherever we go. So that's huge. David Summerly said, "Are people Googling that for insuring to consider their existing quotes to find some contractors to quote them or something else?" I don't know what you mean by that, David. I'll have to circle back around to that. Jason Komprowski, my friend, said, "Tell me what's terrible about my website. I'll have to go and check it and see. We'll give you some feedback." David said, "Notice that everyone but Diego is from Roofr. Where's TJ McCormack or Matt Radford?"
TJ's out in Minnesota, I think he is right now.
Yeah, I think he's
making
training
roofing. Yeah, he's making roofing companies better.
That's awesome. We love you, TJ. Sorry he's in the chat. So
I know, I saw him there.
So we appreciate it, guys. All right, so let me ask you guys, what are other, let's continue on, ways that marketing companies are, or ways that roofing companies can market their roofing company. Sorry, that was kind of complicated there. Ways that roofing companies can market themselves. All right, so we talked about this at the beginning. We talked about the people that are hitting us up on Messenger asking us if we can handle more leads. Let's talk about marketing companies. So here's the big thing. How do you know that you're hiring a good marketing company?
You got to ask your friends. Ask them who they've worked with in the past, but also ask these marketing companies, what's your process for generating leads? Because there's a difference between good leads and bad leads. There's no point in generating 1,000 leads for you if they're bad leads or if they're not a good fit. Like, for example, if you work in commercial roofing, but you get 1,000 residential leads generated for you, that's kind of a waste of your money and your time. So that's the first piece of it, kind of working with that company or seeing if they're open to work with you to help them understand, what does a high fit lead look like for you? What does your qualifying process look like for you? And also understanding that your marketing process, if you're contracting out to another company, shouldn't be fragmented and siloed from your sales process. Your sales guys, your sales team needs to understand where these leads are coming from and what marketing is doing to set them up. Because if the lead comes to you and they look great, but your sales folks don't really know how to turn that lead that's been generated into a lead that's captured, you're going to lose a lot of money and leave a lot of money on that table. I know Nick and Pete have heard horror stories about agencies as well, so I'm sure they got a lot to say here.
Yeah, and I don't want to talk bad about anyone in particular. I guess just mainly, and I know you guys wouldn't, but I think mainly just, I guess, let me rephrase the question also. How do you keep a marketing agency accountable? Because I think that's part of it too, is I think we don't understand the expectation when we bring in a marketing agency a lot of the time.
Yeah, I think the difference here is that when we think of marketing, like we see it all the time on Facebook. Hey, who can handle an extra 20, 30 leads a month, right? I think that one of the distinguishing factors between a true good reputable marketing agency is if you ask them, how long is it going to take me to generate leads with the process that you're going to put into place? And they say, hey, it could be, 60, 90 days before we get there. This is an investment. This is a long-term push here. Marketing is a long-term investment. I think that's probably a more reputable agency than someone who says like, hey, I can give you another 30 leads tomorrow. Right.
Mhm.
I think if they're telling you that, there's a 99% chance they're completely full of crap. Right. Or
Yeah.
they're garbage. Right. And I think that's going to be true of just about any marketing agency. It takes time for marketing to work correctly. And we have to understand that going into it. And I think, obviously there's two things here. I think that roofers traditionally don't trust marketers, right? Because we probably have all been burned from it. And two, I think that, we don't understand it, right? We don't necessarily understand marketing. So we have like an unrealistic expectation of what's going to happen when we work with a marketing company.
This is huge. I think that one really big important key to this is that you can't keep someone accountable to something that you don't truly understand. So I think you have to have at least some sort of basic understanding of what, let's say, what SEO is or what local service ads are, whatever is the thing that this agency is taking care of. You can't outsource something that you don't understand, because you're just not going to be able to keep those people accountable, right? At least have a base understanding of what it is, how it works, how long it's going to take to generate, results from it, whatever. And then from there, you're able to keep people accountable because you understand at the very least how the results are supposed to look.
I see some folks in the comments saying that, sometimes you have to work with them daily and hand in hand until you see results. And although there's, good intentions behind that, what I would say is more important is finding a marketing partner who is willing to educate you. That's a great sign of a good partner, because you don't want someone who's going to do the work and disappear, and then the work itself for your company falls because that person's not there. You want to be in a place where you're competent and capable enough to do the work after they leave as well, or at least understand why they're doing what they're doing. So a good test, again, is to see, is this company that I'm chatting with, are they educators? Are they willing to show me the ropes or help me understand at least why they're doing what they're doing and what they're doing and what effect that has on my business?
And straight up ask them, like exactly like I think it was TJ that commented there that marketers must be vetted, but ask them what their process is. How did they get to the results with X company, and are they willing to work with them? I know we had a chat, Pete and I had a chat with one of our marketing partners at Roofr today, and he's talking with his users. He's a big name marketing guy in the in our roofing industry, and he's talking with his clients daily. They say, hey, I have a problem with this, I don't really understand it, and he sits down and talks to them. I've been at his office and watched him do that with people. So having someone, like TJ said in the comments there, help you out and be hand in hand with you is going to be imperative to make sure that someone's going to be there for me to educate me, to teach me along the way, to make sure I can make it replicable. That's what TJ is doing right now. He's out teaching people about social media for their company and making it replicable. And that, I think that's how you say it, by the way. Replicable? Yeah,
I think so.
Okay.
Replicatable?
Replicatable. But the other thing that I think is really important to know is if you are in the process of ready to go and hire a marketing agency, you need to hold yourself accountable just like they are too. Because if they tell you to do a bunch of things and set these processes, set everything in place, and you don't follow what they're doing, you have no one to blame but yourself. So vet your marketing agency just like homeowners will vet at their contractors. Listen to what they're doing and educate and kind of absorb that. Work with them hand in hand and make sure that you're able to kind of implement the stuff that they're saying. They're telling you to put up videos every day and you're not willing to do that. You can't bitch and complain if it doesn't work.
Yeah. Let's finish up. I'm going to ask, let's go to one last topic, and that's the topic of branding. So I saw someone on Facebook recently say that you have to own your brand. So that's one thing I think also with, with the marketing agencies, whatever whatever that looks like of how you're trying to scale your marketing, you have to be in charge of your brand. And talk to me a little bit about, how a roofing contractor can own their brand.
Stawa, I think this is all you, buddy.
Yeah, I know, right? That's what I was
I wanted to
thinking.
leave some space for everyone else.
What are things that we can do? Let me make this more specific. What are things that
Sure.
we can do to build a strong brand as a roofing contractor?
One word we've mentioned a lot in this conversation has been trust, but also with that trust comes dependability and familiarity. There's a myth around the rule of 7 in marketing where it's said that someone has to see your ad or your piece of content or see your name 7 times before they decide to make a purchase or go with you. But the flip side to that rule is that someone also has to see you enough times to know that you're able to do the work and do it the way that you promise you would do it too. So that follow through is very important. So when it comes to owning your brand and building it, it's not enough to just put out one great video or one great post. You have to be putting out a ton of posts over and over daily, maybe daily, but definitely weekly and monthly to build that trust and also your cadence. Nick talked about finding your voice. What you'll find is when you put out your first post, it's not going to be that great and you're probably going to cringe as you film it and put it out. But it's that practice. It's that habit of stepping up to the plate, swinging, shooting, and then putting up. And then over a couple of days, over a couple of weeks, then you find your voice. And when people find you at that peak, they're going to look back and see a catalog of work too. When someone sees that you've been at this for a while and you've put out a whole body of content, that makes them feel confident that you are trustworthy, dependable, and reliable because you showed up for yourself every single day. So if you've done that, the chances are that you'll show up for someone else every single day as well. So building a brand is also always about being consistent, but also knowing who you are and who you are not. That ties into who you work with and who you don't work with. The customer and the clientele that you want to work with wants to work with a certain type of roofer. So depending on your neighborhood, the type of work you do, you also have to pull that back into who you are as a brand. If you work with high net worth customers in a residential area, you have to ensure that you come across as a brand in a way where those customers would want to work with you. They wouldn't want to work with someone with a broken, dinky little truck that doesn't show up when they said they would show up. So it's all of those factors that come into owning your brand and building something that lasts a span of time.
I love that. Well, guys, we really appreciate you guys hopping on today and doing this live training with us. I'm going to give you guys a shout out because I know, I want to say that I truly, and I've told you guys this before in private too, that I love Roofr and I love what you guys do. And I love the system. It's like, I love doing the DIY measurements and I think that you guys just have a super solid system, and I recommend you guys to everyone. So I'm super happy that we get to be partners in this roofing.com/Roofr partnership, and we're excited that we get to do these trainings. And anyone that's on the fence about anyone who's looking for a company to do measurements and doing the instant estimators and all that stuff, check out Roofr. They're a super solid company. And last thing that I'll leave for anyone watching, join us at RoofCon this year. You can get your early bird tickets right now at roofcon.com. RoofCon's going to be in Orlando, Florida at the Orange County Convention Center, November 9th through the 11th. We're excited to have Roofr there and a bunch of other vendors. If you want to go check out the trade show, there's going to be 250 plus vendors there. There's going to be a ton of attendees, great speakers. Haven't announced any yet, but we're going to have some really solid speakers. So join us at RoofCon. Guys, anything else you guys want to say before we head out?
No, man. I think that, yeah. No, I just think that, I think Astawa touched on some great stuff. Consistency, I think, is if there's one takeaway here, be consistent, right? And something that Daniel actually posted in the chat there, make yourself available.
Yeah.
I've seen some of the most successful roofers be the ones that just answer the phone.
Answer
Right?
that
Yeah,
phone,
that's awesome.
guys. Get in front of people. Just make sure that you have that right messaging and find your voice for the marketing. Because once you have that system and process in place, and then you add the marketing in, you got a full-fledged system. So really appreciate you having us on, Diego.
Yeah, appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Diego.
Yeah, man.
Guys, have a great day. Catch you guys next time.
See ya.
Thank you.